All right, sim students, we're getting to the point where um, without Fusion in the classroom, there's not going to be a whole lot for us to do for the rest of the remote time until we get back in person. So what I'm going to have you work on is something called the process flow chart. It's very similar to the flow charts you would have used in POE and or during sim if we had done the AGV, the automated guided vehicle. It's similar to a robotics flow chart with the exception of um, there's a couple of different symbols, a couple of new symbols. Like for example, storage. You'll see here in the top right, there's a little triangle for storage. Typically in a robotic system, we don't have a storage location. We have, start and end. We have decisions. We have operations, movements, things like that. But when you're manufacturing, there's a couple other things. Transportation being one, storage being another, inspection being the third. So basically, the way that this works is these symbols right here that are in the middle of the screen, these guys right here, I want you to take and use them to create a flow chart for manufacturing the card box. And I'm going to give you an example that everyone can see here. This is activity 421 process flow on the Project Lead the Way website with their curriculum materials in it. So if we take and review this gumball launcher assembly that's in figure 2 here. So we've got a base plate, a couple of small fasteners, a craft stick, there's a spring in there, a side panel, an angle set pin, and then a large fastener. So we've got several different parts here making this thing up. And what we want to do here is at the bottom, create a process flowchart for the gumball machine launcher. Continue from the first three steps of the process. So it takes you through the first three steps, and then we kind of want you to sort of think of the rest on your own. Some parts of this will be manufactured, for example, the base plate. Other parts, I wouldn't spend the time and energy manufacturing. I would just buy in bulk, like, for example, a craft stick or the small fasteners. I would buy them, or the spring also. I'd buy those things, and then I'd have to have a storage location for them. I would have to have transportation to bring them from storage to where they're going to be used to an assembly. So you can kind of see something as simple as this little project here does have multiple parts to it and multiple steps in a process flow chart. Here's what Project Lead the Way's come up with you. There's a start, machining of the base plate, then a transportation because you're going to move it to what we call a deburring station. Anytime you machine metal, it's left with a burr on the edge of it, and it's a really sharp edge that can cut you. It can cut the end user. It needs to be removed. So just like our card boxes will need to probably have the edges sanded slightly, we can, machine our card box bases. Obviously, I want you to start before that, like, getting the pieces out of the box, putting them in the machine, that kind of stuff. Machining the card box base. Next step would be to um, maybe vacuum the machine out and maybe sand the edges of them. So the process flow worksheet that I put on Classroom for you here with this, there's a link to it here. This is what it looks like. You have a number of tasks. We only go up to 3 here. You're going to circle or square or highlight the process symbol. Give me a quick description of it, the machine that's required, and the tooling that's required to do this. Okay, so for example, if you are going to machine your card box with a 3/4 inch end mill, you're good. If you're going to use a 1/4 inch end mill, put that in there. Next step here, this transportation move to deburring station. Again, it's transportation symbol. There's a task description. ASRS stands for Automated Storage and Retrieval Systems, or an AGV. You could even say like, oh, we're going to put all these things on a cart and wheel them around and take them down the elevator and do the sanding in the shop. Tooling required for this, for the actual transportation, is none. There's no tooling that we need. Okay, we do need a machine, but not tools. Deburring is another process, another operation, and it's you need a power deburring machine for this and a carbide burr, I suppose, to remove the burrs off this. We might use the rigid sander that's in the shop. We might use hand sandpaper. We might use the Dremel tool. We might use whatever. So what's going to happen next? That's kind of what I'm asking you. I will show you in another video that I can add to this one. I'll splice it in here. I'll show you in just a moment what this card box, some of the sort of the process for making this, because if you haven't seen it, you didn't see it last year, you're probably wondering, scratching your head, going like, I don't understand how we're supposed to make this thing. So I'll include that in another video. And here is the document that you're going to get on Classroom. Each of you will get your own copy for you to kind of fill in. Notice it's pretty long. If you don't fill it all the way out, that's fine. But if you have like 4 or 5 steps, that's not enough either. All right, so I will go through this in Fusion 360 and then splice the video in. All right, so now we're in Fusion. A quick overview of how this box will get actually manufactured. So first we have our bottom from the example that we had before. And what I've done is I've made this setup with an adaptive and a pocketing operation, contour to clean everything up, and then another contour on the outside to make everything have its nice shape. So that takes care of the bottom. Then that's one operation. So the bottom gets held right here on the vise, and we machine that out. Then we move on to the top. So if I switch to the setup for the top, here's our top. Again, the top is upside down and there's still a flat area right here where I can hold on to with my vise. And I have again, another quick adaptive operation to remove most of the material, and then a contour operation to clean it up and make it look nice. The next thing for us to do is, I did not design the top for this, but I would just roll timelines back and forth and everything. What we're going to do next is we're actually going to take this entire thing and we're going to put the box together like this, where we tape it actually together. Okay, so I'll put a piece of masking tape around there and I'll label the top and the bottom because it can get confusing. And I'll put a piece of masking tape around there to hold the two pieces together, and then we'll make a brand new setup, a brand new everything for the top of the box. Okay, and you can see if I hop back into my manufacturing, I have a setup for the top of the top, which is this corner here. But as you can see right now, there's no cam operations in there because there's really nothing that I can actually do. I suppose I could do one right quick with my 1/4" tool, and I could come in here and maybe grab that contour, and let's see what happens if I do this. Oh, let's see if I simulate this. What will happen in the machine is, yeah, it will cut that away. Even though it's not showing that it's getting cut away, it will machine that away. Actually, hide the model, and there's what we'll get. Okay, we'll get a top that looks like that, and then you can do your other kind of designs and whatnot on top of there, and then cam strategies that part out. The top visible again. All right, so there's something that you didn't already know. How we're going to machine this thing. That's a quick overview of it, and hopefully this is enough to get you going on this process flow.